Hi, our core leadership group is producing a series of videos to encourage us as a church since we can't meet together physically. There'll be a few more videos coming. You can check out lansingchurch.org or our Facebook feed to get more encouraging and unifying content coming your way. This first video is called Christians and Plagues and Coronavirus. For most of us, the idea of a plague that we may have read about in history books or in the Bible may have sounded ancient and foreign until now. We've never really experienced anything like the coronavirus in our lives. And now that it's here, it's amazing how quickly our lives and our vocabularies can change. Everything is canceled. We use new words like social distancing and self-quarantine, like we've been saying them our whole lives. And then there's the whole lack of toilet paper thing. We also lack context or precedent for such a pandemic, and I think that can be unnerving for some of us. So I thought maybe you'd be encouraged to know that dealing with plagues and pandemics is nothing new to Christianity. In fact, Christians through the ages kind of have a reputation for being all-stars in the midst of even the most severe public health scares. There are two cornerstone passages for Christians, Matthew 22:39, love your neighbor as yourself, and Philippians 2, verse 3, in humility count others more significant than yourselves. It's undeniable that we are to put the well-being of others ahead of our own, even if it means personal risk to ourselves. Normally, obeying those commands doesn't mean much more than maybe a slight inconvenience or going the extra mile to serve. It's even enjoyable to do that. But with a pandemic, we have a greater cost to count. Here's two examples from history that we can lean on. In AD 250, there's a plague named after a Christian priest who described it in great detail. The Cyprian plague lasted for 13 years and saw people dying of a meningitis or even an Ebola type disease that spread to the point that 5,000 people a day were dying in Rome alone. The Romans and their multitude of gods had no explanation or answer for the plague, while the Christians served at great personal cost. This tragic time period in the Roman Empire was a turning point for Christianity, as even the non-Christians observed that Christians helped all kinds of people, not just the people in their own households. Over a millennia later, in 1527, the bubonic plague hit Europe and Wittenberg, Germany, which was the home of Martin Luther, and he writes a lengthy letter of encouragement and direction to the city. They knew more about how to fight plagues than the previous example, and so he encourages people to flee or to avoid places of sick people, in other words, social distancing, and to not disregard medicine, but to take the advice of healthcare experts at the time. He also urges essential people to stay strong in their positions of leadership or care. This is a good reminder, I think, that we should be praying for our leaders, our health officials, doctors, and nurses who put themselves at great risk to help the sick. He warns that not following guidelines is not loving your neighbor as yourself, and even likens a foolish disregard of plague policies to the sin of murder. So in these examples, and there are many more, but in these two brief examples, we can gain perspective from those who have dealt with these things before. So let's be a light and serve in any way that we can by putting others before ourselves. At the same time, our greatest service is to be great followers of the rules put in place to reduce the impact of this pandemic. Let's pray for our leaders, public servants, medical professionals, daily for wisdom and for strength. And then lastly, let's not give up meeting together, albeit in a very different way. Using technology to stay bonded is a way that we can stay together that our ancestors couldn't. Let's do well in light of our heritage and not forget that no matter what, God is in control. He loves us, He cares for us, and He uses the good and the bad to draw us and many others nearer to Him, which is always the best place to be. God bless.